Have you seen this camera yet?
No.
This is the 360 camera.
Oh, that's it. Okay.
Yeah, it's taken. We're walking in like inside of a globe, you know, and it sees everything. And I can, in editing, I can turn around, you know, just like when you wander through a 3D real estate.
That's cool.
Yeah, pretty neat. So here we are. Dining out on Carnivore is one of the that's the most requested thing I get.
Is it?
Yeah. So here we are. So here we are, my son and we picked a barbecue restaurant to eat at because he's trying to do carnivore. I am doing carnivore, and what better place to get meat? But we're going to stop lunch right now for a few seconds and talk about restaurants, eating out, all the pitfalls, and what are the best places to go and what do you need to look out for. Let's start by doing a Google search on healthy foods. Look at the images. This is what the world thinks healthy foods look like. I scrolled down quite a ways. Not one simple piece of meat or other animal product showed up. There's some eggs came up, but that's about it. So what makes eating out so hard? What makes it hard is that if you live alone like me and you eat all your meals at home, you can keep the temptation away from you, because I think we've pretty much determined that carb food addiction is the biggest problem and the biggest reason why diets fail and aren't sustainable. You stand the best shot if you don't go out and subject yourself to all of these temptations that trigger your addictions and cravings. Unfortunately, when you first start changing your life by going carnivore, it takes quite a long time. It's not fast. For me, it was between 6 months and a year until my cravings and my addiction went into remission. And I say remission because it never goes away like an alcoholic. And you have to consider your sugar addiction as bad and as permanent and as hard to fight as an alcoholic. Yet we have totally different rules in society when it comes to alcoholics. Alcoholics don't hang out in bars where they're tempted, but food and carb addicts have to go out into the world where everything you see, smell, and think about reminds you and triggers your addiction. It's not fair, and it'll never be fair until the world actually recognizes the sugar addiction as the disease, if you can call alcoholism a disease, that it is. So it's up to us to control these things. And the easiest way to control them is to not put ourselves in the presence of things that trigger us. Unfortunately, you cannot do that and go out into the world, especially the world of eating out. So how do you handle this? Keeping in mind that you need to stay away from restaurants that have large menus, and the majority of things on their menus are foods that we don't eat, high in seed oils, high in grains, and high in sugars. That's about 99% of the restaurants out there, other than a few distinct categories which are always good choices for us. Sometimes the good choice can be found in the name of the restaurant. Brazilian steakhouses, Steak and Ale, Outback Steakhouse, any restaurant that features primarily seafood. These are animal products. And the name in the restaurant's name makes it kind of a sure bet that at least half, if not more, of the things on their menu are going to be things that are on our menu as carnivores. On the other hand, you got to stay away from all of these other restaurants. And that includes most of the fast food upscale restaurants like Fridays and Bennigan's and those kind of places. Yeah, they have some meat, but you know they're not preparing the meat in the right with the right kind of oils and the right kind of seasonings. You know that most restaurants, at least 99% of all restaurants, have to gear their food to the addicted majority of Americans that won't go eat there if they can't get their daily fix. I'm talking about almost all ethnic restaurants, which sometimes is hard because they're favorites of ours. They're favorites of ours. Italian restaurants, Chinese restaurants, Mexican restaurants, Indian restaurants, and like that. Of all of the restaurants that are geographical, the Brazilian steakhouses seem to be the only ones that are really a gorge fest for carnivores.
All right, we're ready.
Now, our favorite restaurants for my son and I, and we have lunch once a week, is a barbecue restaurant, which is a natural choice for eating out, with only a few pitfalls. We normally order meat with a side of meat, and we restrict our selections to only those meats that we know have the least amount of seed oils and the least amount of sugars in them. Now, of course, barbecue restaurants have all the sides and the cornbread and the french fries, and of course we avoid that in all the desserts. But they do have pork, chicken, beef, and you can get brisket, you can get pulled pork, sliced pork, half of a chicken. You just have to make sure that they don't overdo the rubs full of sugar, and they don't fry things like chicken wings in seed oils. Although even if you happen to get a small amount of that, it's not going to be the end of the world.
There you go. And that's how we do it.
So to summarize, if you have to go out and eat, you have to. The first basic choice you have to make is stay away from the restaurants where you don't stand a chance. You don't want to go to the Cheesecake Factory with a bunch of 300-pound people if you're trying to be on a carnivore diet. I don't care how important they think it is that you be there or you think it is. It's an automatic fail. Stick to the restaurants where you know they have a wide enough assortment of foods that we can eat that you can get close and don't sweat the small stuff. Make sure you get enough food to eat and be satisfied. And if you have to excuse yourself from the table when dessert time comes, do that. Don't allow yourself to be in situations where you can get triggered. Now, the good news is this gets much easier after a month on carnivore. After 6 months on carnivore, you can watch anything. You won't know when that happens or even realize it. Sometime between 6 months and a year into carnivore, you'll be able to go into a birthday party, sit next to the birthday cake, watch everybody eat it, and not get triggered. Now, I know that sounds impossible, but it happened to me. I have no cravings. Now, I do know that I'm still an addict, and I do know that one blueberry and I'm often running. But it takes no effort for me to avoid that stuff now. And you have to always keep that in mind. Keep the goal in sight. It's happened to almost all of the people who have achieved any length of time on this way of eating because their basic physiology and mental thinking has changed. It is amazing. You won't be triggered by foods. When you see, and I'll warn you, these images may trigger you. When you see images like that, they will have no effect on you. That's how you know you have your addictions in remission. When you can look at images like this and not be triggered, and I'm sorry if I've triggered some of you, I'm just trying to make a point. You're over it. You're fine. Go out and eat with your family. Sit there and have a cup of coffee while they eat dessert. It'll be easy for you, even though it's impossible for you now. But think ahead. Think about where you're going. Think about whether they have something you're going to order. Think about if there's any necessary things you need to tell the servers as far as the preparation. If you suspect that they're going to be frying your eggs in seed oil instead of butter. Try to pick restaurants where you get a better feeling that they'll actually take you seriously. And do the best you can. If you go out and eat, and you do fall off the wagon, and you get triggered, and you find yourself gorging that piece of cheesecake, think about what you did wrong. Think about what you missed for the next time. And get right back on it, because that's happened to all of us. It's a jungle out there, my friends, an absolute jungle full of poison. Do the best you can. That's all we can do.
All right, so here we are. We're finished. And I got this last little bit of brisket here. And that, my friends,
I got a kids turkey sandwich, looks like. Old pork.
I can edit some of this chewing out.
And kids old pork.
Doing good over here?
We are.
Thank you.
Can I get a tea to go?
First, would you like water to go, sir?
No, I'm fine, thank you. Anyway, that, my friends, is
Do you want me to check your ID?
take two. That, my friends, is how we do it. So, as usual, take the rest of the day off
And eat meat.
and eat some meat. Say goodbye, Mike.
Goodbye, Mike.
Thank you.